welcome to the Loop and Bar podcast. My name's Kate and I'm coming to you from South Devon in the UK. It still takes me a little bit of thinking to get that one out because it's only the third episode that I've recorded in our new home down in South Devon. I think this is episode 31, but it might be episode 32. But you'll know because I'll put the right episode on the title of the podcast down here. And if you are new to the podcast, this is my podcast mainly about knitting, some crochet, textile based crafts and sometimes non-textile based crafts, but mainly textile based crafts. And this episode I have got, just looking at the table in front of me, I've got 3 finished things to show you, little tiny things. I've got 2 new cast-ons that are for me and some other stuff that I've been doing. It's been a few weeks since the last episode and as usual, because I'm not very organised, I'm totally not organised today for recording this, so I'm completely winging it, more than I usually do. Basically I've just surrounded myself with the things I want to show you and I'm going to hope for the best. So we'll see how the time goes. I'm also going to do a giveaway because I haven't done one for ages and I've been making something lovely to have as a prize for a giveaway, to say thank you to everybody for supporting the podcast by watching it. So if you're a subscriber or if you just watch the podcast regularly, if you follow me on Instagram, you're welcome to enter the giveaway. I will show you what you can win and give you some details about that later, because I'm sort of going to be making it up as I go along as well. It's one of those kinds of days. I wasn't intending originally for this day to be the podcasting day. I was intending it to be Monday. Gone. Today is Friday and it's the afternoon and I was busy this morning. I took my car, no I didn't, I collected my car from having its MOT, everything was fine, so that was good. Did a bit of shopping, me and Charlie have been in the garden and planted a couple of plants. Evian's been home for lunch, so I usually sit with him while he has his lunch and eat with him and do a bit of knitting while we chat, and he's gone off back to work again. He's got a bit of a long afternoon, so yeah, I thought, well, I've got some time to do a podcast this afternoon. So it's a little impromptu, but not really, because I've been planning to do it for ages, but I just didn't plan to do it this afternoon. So please excuse any rambling, that is more than usual. Rambling more than usual. Let's take a deep breath. I am now, I'll give you a bit of a life update before I get into the knitting. I am now in my 36th week of pregnancy. I'll do a little bump reveal for you if this works. It didn't work last time. I tried to show you the bump and you only got half of it, so hopefully you can see. I've set the camera a little bit further back today. That's how massive the bump is. And if you haven't seen the podcast before, or if you missed it in any of the previous episodes, we don't know if this is a girl or a boy, so it's just called a bump at the moment. We can't use he or she, although sometimes I do use he and she, just randomly. But usually we just call it bump. And we'll find out in a few weeks whether we've got a little girl or a little boy, because we'll be meeting him or her at the end of June sometime, which is really close. So we've been getting lots of stuff in the house. We've got a cot, we've got a pram, we've got the pram up, we've had a go of it. The cot's going up at the weekend because I want it to air, get rid of all that new chemically smell. And then I'm just getting in supplies and stuff like that. So we've been busy doing that. I've been busy knitting for the baby. It's too hot to wear anything knitted at the moment anyway, but hopefully it will cool down a little bit by the time I go into labour. It's been sweltering Not complaining, but we would like a little bit of rain because the garden looks a little bit parched. But the weather's been beautiful. We've been enjoying a really lovely hot spring and beginning of summer, so that's been really nice. And in the time since my last episode, we've been to Wales. I think we were going to Wales at the last episode, so we've been to Wales. We had a really lovely time. We've also been to see the cricket at Taunton. That was 2 weeks ago, and that was brilliant. We really enjoyed that. We spent the whole afternoon, me and Avion, we spent the whole afternoon watching Somerset versus, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Middlesex, it was West Sussex. No, it was Middlesex. It was something like that. Anyway, Somerset won, and it was a lot of fun. I basically sat and knitted, and Avion sat and drank beer, and we had a picnic in a basket, and the sun was out, and it was so relaxing and lovely. We really enjoyed it, so we think we're going to do it again before the baby's born, but possibly not stay for quite as long, because I'm not sure if I can sit on a fold-down chair for 7 hours again. As much as I enjoyed the whole afternoon, we're going to go for a slightly shorter length of time for our next visit to the cricket ground, but we loved it. We thought it was great. The atmosphere was brilliant, just really chilled out. Loads of people just had their own, bags of food, baskets of food, take their own picnic. There's people of all backgrounds, all ages, families, groups of people on stag do's and things like that, but it's not rowdy or anything. It's just really chilled out, lovely time in the sun. Avion really enjoyed himself, and he was able to really just unwind from a very, very busy few weeks at work. And I got to spend the whole afternoon with him, all to myself, which was brilliant. So we loved it. I don't know what else to tell you about Life Update. I think I've done that quite briefly, which is good because I've got loads to show you, so maybe I should just get straight into some knitting showing. I did something very exciting as well in the last few weeks, in the time since my last podcast. And so I'll start by showing you a finished object, and I'll tell you a little bit about that and the lovely ladies that I've been to have a cup of tea with. If they're watching, they'll know who they are, obviously. So I'll start with the finished object, which is a baby cardie, of course. When I show these, in my last episode, I was aware that when I was showing stuff, hope you can hear me, I wasn't getting the full thing in the screen. So the camera's a little bit further back today, as I said a little bit earlier. So I'll just hold it still so you get a good look, and hopefully the whole thing's in the shot, and then I'll try and give you a closer look. So this is the newborn vertebrae. I've made a slight modification. If you're familiar with this pattern, the whole thing is knit in stocking stitch. However, I have added a little bit of texture, so I'll just try and give you a bit of a close-up. My stool might creak a bit, but I'll just see if that works. And I just took one of the texture stitches out of my knitting 750 knitting stitches dictionary. I'm just reading the title, it's on the table over there. And I've used mini skeins, 2 of which are from a new company that I've discovered. I'll give you some close-ups of the beautiful colours. Hopefully that's going to show you a close-up. So this colour, this lovely bluey purpley variegated tonal one, and this beautiful sort of pinky purpley are both from Lily Pond yarns. The brown is actually a Madeline Tosh mini skein, a unicorn tail, but these two are Lily Pond yarns. I will put that here so that you know exactly what I'm saying, because I don't think I always say things very clearly. And the other skeins that came in the mini skein set that I was very generously given are these 3, sorry. I wound that into a ball, but I didn't end up using it in the cardie in the end, because the idea struck me to use a unicorn tail, but they're really beautiful colours, absolutely gorgeous, really soft, beautiful yarn. And basically, Lily Pond Yarns, here's their card. Hopefully that's not too close. You'll get fed up of me saying that all the time. I'll just do the hand just in case. I'll put the details here anyway. In my Etsy shop, I sold one of my snap pouches to a lovely lady called Fiona, and when I was packaging it and going to write the address on, I noticed that she lives pretty much 2 minutes away from me, and so I messaged and said, hey, shall I just drop it round, save you the postage? And she said that would be lovely, and would you like to come in for a cup of tea, because me and my friend podcast and we watch your podcast, and it would be really nice to have a little meet up and a chat and a cup of tea. So I jumped at the chance because I haven't met anybody knitty so far, or I hadn't, and so I went along and I had a lovely afternoon with Fiona and Abby, who are the yarn dyers behind Lily Pond Yarns, and they're on Etsy. They're also on Instagram as Lily Pond Yarns, and they do a podcast as well. So I think they've done, is it 3 or 4 episodes now? I've watched all of them now, and they gave me a lovely mention in their last one, which was fun. It always makes me feel a little bit giddy when people talk about me in their podcasts. And hopefully we're going to meet up again for another cup of tea sometime before the baby's born. So, a bit more about the yarn. I really, really enjoyed knitting with their beautiful yarn, and I have got, actually on the back of their card, this is what came with the mini skein set. They sell mini skein sets, so you get 5 mini skeins. Obviously I've used 2 of them in the cardie, and one of them's balled up there. And these are the other 2. So I'm saving these for something beautiful. Maybe socks for me. They're really soft. Or maybe something else for the baby when it's born. Don't know yet. So in the mini skein sets you get 5 times 20 grams of merino nylon. Well, depending on the base, but this one is merino nylon, 80/20, and there's 400 meters per 1008 fingering weight. Oh, I don't know what that means. There's a lot of information there. Anyway, and you can machine wash it at 30 degrees, which is brilliant actually, because I've knit my baby a cardigan in it. That's going to be very handy. So, it's soft like clouds. This reminds me of raspberry ripple ice cream. I want to eat it. So those are some beautiful colours there. Really lovely tones and variegations in those. They've done a really beautiful job of dyeing that yarn. So I can't wait to use those. And then here's another shot of the beautiful cardigan featuring the Lily Pond yarns. So it's the blue and the pink. And then, like I say, for a band across the back there, I've just added a texture stitch, which I think is called knotted boxes. I'll give you another close-up. I know you've just seen it, but and it's a series of eyelets and garters and yarn overs or something. I can't remember now, but it's really nice and simple. I just thought it added a nice little bit of interest to the back, and because it's summer and there are eyelets in there, there'll be a little bit of ventilation for the baby. I didn't do it on the sleeves. I just left the sleeve bits plain because I thought that would make it a bit complicated with stitch counts, quite frankly. So I just kept life simple and did the sleeves just plain stocking stitch. And then, as I say, the beautiful brown colour is Madeline Tosh Unicorn Tail. I think the colourway it's Dust Bowl, I know that for sure. So that's my newborn vertebrae. I think the only modification I made there was that bit of a stitch pattern. I can't remember if the pattern calls for you to taper the sleeves. I think it possibly suggests that you can do, and so I have done, because I quite like the look of that. One thing that I haven't done, and I didn't do it on the other one I'm going to show you, or the other one, but I need to remember to do this in the future, is because you knit the body obviously flat, backwards and forwards, but then once you put and the sleeves as far as here are knit flat, because that's where you separate for the sleeves, but then from there downwards you would knit well, you don't have to, I suppose, but I did. You knit the sleeves on magic loop, or if you want to, do it on 4 needles, and you knit them in the round, which does make the tension slightly different, and you can sort of see that the tension does alter a little bit because they suddenly go a little bit slimmer, a bit too quick, but I think once the baby's got the cardigan on, it won't matter. It's not that obvious. So I think if I knit them, if I do this again, next time I do a cardigan, I'll have to remember it with the ones that I'm doing for myself now. I'll just probably go up about 1/4 of a needle size maybe for when I'm knitting the sleeves in around, just to account for that slight difference in gauge. But I really love the way that these colours go together. I love this blue and purple together. It's so gorgeous, and it's very much, you know, girl or boy. I know I've put pink there, but I'm seeing it more as a sort of pinky purple, and as I've said before, I don't really mind what colour I put on my baby. I don't think it's important really. I just think the colours look beautiful together, and the brown brings it all together so nicely. So that's the newborn vertebrae. If I can remember correctly, I think the pattern is by Kelly Van Niekerk. I will put that here because I think that I might have said that wrong. I don't know if I've showed you my other one. I don't think I have, because I knit the other one, that I'll just show you it now, on the way to Wales, in Wales, and on the way back from Wales. So, and I don't think I've podcasted since we've been to Wales. So this is the other newborn vertebrae. I actually knit this one before I knit that one. So this is the first one I knit. Here's the yarn, first of all. I showed you this yarn a while ago. So it's, sorry, I've got the hiccups a little bit. It's Drops Baby Merino Mix in a really nice brown colour. And I bought 2 balls, that's obviously a full ball. And of the second ball that I knit the cardigan in, this is what I have left. So you can knit a newborn vertebrae easily in 1 ball of this. And here is the first one that I knit. And again, it's really tiny, it's really cute, and I've tapered the sleeves again. I tapered them, when I say tapered them, I made decreases every inch, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 sets of decreases. The first decrease starts here, so a little bit under the arm, a little bit from where you split the sleeves, and then every inch down towards the bottom. That's just how I did mine. I've sort of written it on my pattern and made a little chart so that I can do that with other sleeves, and I've done it with the other cardigan that I'm going to show you as well. But I really, really love this pattern. I've obviously done, if you compare the sizes, that one's a tiny bit smaller. Possibly I used smaller needles for that one, but I can't remember because I haven't got any of the details in front of me. I usually write some notes on the pattern, but I have put them all on Ravelry. I've been really good, and I have actually put all the details of these projects that I'm showing you today, not of any of my previous ones because I've not been organised, but these are on my Ravelry. So I'm Loop and Bar on Ravelry if you want to go and have a look for any of the details about the pattern, about the yarns I've used, including colourways. I think I've even put finished measurements, needle sizes. I've been really thorough because basically for future reference, but I think it's really nice for other people to have a look. I always find it really useful if I'm going to knit something, if people have written quite a lot of detail about the gauge, the sizing, any modifications that they made, etc. So everything that I've done, all the details that you might want to know are on the project page for the in Ravelry for that. So you can always have a look at that, including the link to the pattern itself. So there we're going in the baby drawer. And then the next cardigan that I'm going to show you, again, it's another baby one, and then that's all the baby stuff. So I'm doing baby knits first, and then I'll show you the stuff I'm knitting for myself. But in the last episode I showed you a sample knit that I was doing in preparation for a cardigan that I want to knit for myself. If you saw the last episode, if you didn't, pop back and have a look if you're interested. But if you remember me showing you a sample knit in brown yarn, which I don't have with me, No, don't know where it is. Yes, I do, it's over there. I won't show you it again because I showed it in the last episode, but I wanted to knit another cardigan for myself, a lightweight cardigan, so a sort of fingering weight cardigan, and the idea started out that it was going to be a really basic one that I could just quickly knit and have to wear for the summer. But then I started thinking of all these different textures that I wanted to include, and I started playing around with some different textures out of the Stitch Dictionary. I got a little bit addicted and I decided I wanted to add more than one texture, several. So I started doing a sample, and whilst I was knitting the sample it did occur to me that the cardigan that I've got in mind, if I want to use those particular stitch textures, stitches, patterns, then the cardigan will most likely need to be knit from the bottom upwards so that the stitch patterns are facing the right way, otherwise they'll be upside down. And so that would mean that the sleeves would have to be knit separately from the cuff upwards and then attached. And I quite like raglan sleeves, so that's the style I'm going for. And it occurred to me that I wasn't really sure how to do that because I haven't really got much experience of knitting bottom up, especially with attaching sleeves and putting a raglan style sleeve in. So before I went any further with that sampling of that cardigan and any calculations or anything to do with that, I decided to have a look around for a baby pattern on Ravelry that had that construction. So I was looking for something that didn't necessarily have to have a stitch pattern like a lace or a texture in it, but I wanted it to be cardigan, bottom up, raglan sleeve, just so that I could get a hold on how to actually construct the cardigan. And I found the most adorable pattern. It's beautiful. I'm so pleased that I came across this pattern, and I'm really pleased to be able to show it to you because it's just gorgeous, and I think it's probably one of my favourite things that I've knit so far for the baby. So this is the pattern. This is a free pattern, I think, on Ravelry, and it's called the Eucalyptus by Helen Rose. I'll fold it like that and just show you the picture. I'm just seeing, I don't want to reveal. I think what I'm going to show you here is just what you would see on the pattern page anyway on Ravelry, so there's no instructions that I'm going to give away. Oh, but it wouldn't matter because it's free. Anyway, so it's a free pattern. Right, so there we go. So that's what the picture looks like on Ravelry of the Eucalyptus. And I looked through the projects and there were some really beautiful ones knit. And it was perfect because the construction was just what I was looking for in terms of a sort of teaching project for myself, and I just thought it was really cute. The lace pattern on the front I thought was very unisex as well, which works well for us, for me, for the baby. So I looked through my stash, my yarn stash, and I found some beautiful yarn that I've been wanting to knit with for a really long time. It was sent to me by a lovely lady called Sue, who lives in Australia, and it's by Dingo Dye Works. I can't remember the colourway name because I've lost the tag. I can't believe I've lost the tag. But it's this lace weight yarn. I had one full skein of it. Again, I've put all of the details on Ravelry in case I forget to tell you anything about it, or if you want to go back and have a look. And the reason I've got two cakes is because I weighed out the skein, I halved it by weight, and I caked it up twice, and then I knit with it double because the Eucalyptus calls for, pretty sure it's a oh, it doesn't say the yarn weight here, but I think it's, no, I don't know what the yarn weight is supposed to be. The original yarn that they've used is Cascade Ultra Pima cotton with needles. It just says US 6, and I don't know what that is in UK terms actually. So I was winging it a little bit in terms of size because I'm pretty sure I've used a different gauge. But again, all of the details for this cardigan are on my Ravelry page, including full final measurements for the garment. So if you're interested in knitting it in a fingering weight yarn, I've put the gauge that I got and all of the final measurements so that you'll know what size you'll get. But it is designed for a newborn. And again, I wanted to use a lighter weight yarn because it's the summer. So here's the yarn, beautiful, beautiful colourway, Dingo Dye Works, beautiful hand dyed Australian yarn, extremely soft. So that's lace weight held double. And here is my eucalyptus. And I am completely in love with this little cardigan. I just think it is so adorable. It is beautiful. I'll show you the back. So basically, I've put a little shell button at the top there, so I'll have a go at showing you that up close and really hope that that focuses. I realised last episode some things weren't focusing, so I'll do my best. Again, there's some good photos on the Ravelry page. Oh no, there's just one picture of this on the Ravelry page actually. And again, for this one, I'm not sure if it tells you to in the pattern, but I decided to taper the sleeves in the same way that I did for the vertebrae. So I did a paired decrease around about here, and then every inch. So I think there's 3 other paired decreases, which just tapers that sleeve down a little bit and just makes it look a bit neater, I thought. It's quite long, but that's alright. And it's got the most beautiful stitch pattern, and I just thought the fact that it's called the eucalyptus and that I've knit it with Australian dyed yarn was really fitting, and that was not a planned thing, it was something I realised as I was knitting it, so I thought that was really good. Match made in heaven. What else can I tell you about this? It's super soft. It's going to drape beautifully. It's got, oh, did I make some modifications? If I did, it's in the Ravelry project pages because I can't remember now if I made modifications or not. I don't think I did. I think the only thing I did was to taper the sleeves, where it doesn't tell you to do so in the pattern. If I do this again, and I'm very likely to because I really enjoyed this knit, it was a really lovely pattern to knit. But if I do it again, I might just make the button band a little bit wider by adding a couple of extra stitches on here, and probably place the buttonholes a bit further apart because there are actually 2 buttonholes, but the second one is here, and it's just too close for me to put another button on. I can't really see the point in doing it, so I've just only put the one on. It's just enough to do the cardi up at the top. I'm going to hold it back just to make sure you're definitely getting the whole thing in the shot there. And I just think that the lace pattern works really beautifully with the yarn. I love variegated yarn, I love tonal yarns, but often textures and lace can get a bit lost if you use yarn that's a little bit too crazy, but this is perfectly well balanced. You've just got just the right amount of variation in the tones that does not take away from the beautiful lace, but makes the yarn look really, really lovely and varied. So I can't wait to have that on my baby, to try that on my little baby on a cooler day. I think that's all I need to say about that. I think I've knit the body a little bit longer looking at the pattern proportionally. You could miss out a lace repeat, I suppose, if you wanted it to be shorter. But I'm pretty sure I might knit another one of those. And I guess if I wanted to, I could just knit with a heavier weight yarn, do one for sort of the autumn, and it will come up bigger. I think there's only one size in the pattern. I think it's just designed to fit 0 to 3 months. Yes, that's right. So there's only one size given in the pattern, but you know, if you knit something on smaller needles you get something smaller, if you knit it on bigger needles you get something bigger. I know that's not the most scientific and best way to go about sizing up or down, but I think with a baby knit you can get away with that to a certain extent. So you might notice that I keep having to take deep breaths because everything is squashed and I can't breathe very well at the moment, especially if I'm talking a lot, so I hope you can excuse me for that and bear with me. But those are my baby knits. I'm very pleased with those. I've got quite a lot in the drawer. Right, okay, the camera cut out, but I'm back again. So, yep, that's it for the baby knits for this week, except to say, actually, I have got another baby knit to show you, but I didn't knit it. It was a beautiful gift that was sent to me by a lovely lady called Anna. She's Caledoniana on Instagram and Obsti on Ravelry, and she's in our Ravelry group, so that's how I sort of know her in social media. We haven't met. But she asked me for my address and said she would like to send me something, a little something, and the package arrived, and oh my gosh, it was so beautiful, a lovely package to receive. So if you're watching this, Anna, I just want to say thank you so much. I know I messaged you, but I was so blown away, and what I'm just about to show everybody is just the most beautiful thing in the world. So, in the package there were, and I've left them downstairs actually because I've got so much to show you. I'm just going to prioritise and show you the jumper, the lovely hand knit thing. But Anna sent me a lovely bar of chocolate, delicious, a package of beautiful looking sweets which I'm actually saving to take with me to the hospital so that I can have them for energy. I think they're really nice, raspberry flavour by the look of it, like a little boiled sweet, and they look really gorgeous and I can't wait to have them. So I'm taking them in the hospital bag as a treat for me to try and help me get some energy to get me through the labour. And some beautiful looking fruit teas again. I have tried them and they are delicious, but I'm saving a little bit of that as well for when I'm in labour, because I want some lovely treats to help me through it. I think I'm going to need them. A lovely postcard with a guinea pig on the front, which was so sweet, and oh, the most beautiful jumper ever that Anna has knit for our baby. And it's just so soft and gorgeous. And I think the best thing about, well, there's so many good things about this, but one of the best things about it is it's a slightly larger size, which means, and the colours, if I give you a close-up, as you can see, I think are quite autumnal. And so I should think that by the time the baby fits this jumper, it's probably going to be autumn, which I think is extremely fitting. So it's really sweet, little simple jumper. I can't even describe to you how soft this yarn is. And on the postcard, Anna told me that it's rambouillet. Don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And the yarn is actually hand spun by Anna. And she sent me a small cake of the yarn as well, which was unbelievable. I'm so excited to use this yarn. So here's the cake. It's the most beautiful hand spun yarn. It's just gorgeous. So hopefully you can see that nicely. Soft like clouds. Oh, I can't wait to knit with it. So I think, given the fact that this jumper is going to fit the baby in the autumn and probably winter as well, into the well, it depends on how big the baby is and how fast it grows. I'm not really sure about baby sizes, but it's good and stretchy as well, so I'm sure I'll get some wear through the winter, definitely, out of this. So given the fact that it's going to be cooler, I'm planning to knit, as suggested by Anna, a hat for the baby, possibly some little mittens, maybe a little cowl, I don't know, but because I think you can get quite a bit of baby sized stuff out of this yarn, but definitely a really cosy hat would be perfect knit out of that yarn. So that's going in the baby drawer, and the yarn's going to stay there safely, ready for me to knit something for the autumn and winter for the baby to match the beautiful jumper. So thank you again, Anna. That was a really lovely package to receive, a lovely surprise, and I'm saving the sweeties for when I go into the hospital, and it'll be something to look forward to, except for, obviously, apart from the baby itself, which will be the highlight, obviously. The sweets will help me through the labour, definitely, for sure. Oh, so, what to show you next? Let me look behind me, excuse me while I just turn around. Oh, another finished object actually. It's something I've knit for me. You've seen them in progress, but I've finished my prairie socks, and that's the back of them. And as you can see, they've got an afterthought heel, and there's the front. So, oh, I'll give you a close-up. Again, I think I've actually managed to put these on the Ravelry, on my Ravelry project pages with all of the information. So, and I have talked about these before. So, if you want to know any details about the yarn, gauge, pattern, it's the Prairie Socks pattern, but all of it is on my Ravelry project pages if you are interested to know. It's wool and vine yarn and wool barn. Afterthought heel. In the previous podcast, I believe in the down bar, I did put links to the tutorials that I used to learn how to do the afterthought heel, because this is the first time I've ever done an afterthought heel, and I'm really pleased with it. I love it. It fits beautifully, and I'm going to be using that for the next few pairs of socks that I knit, definitely, because I really love the look of it. I actually think I prefer the look of it to the heel flap and gusset. Because it gives you that really defined sort of wedge heel, and it doesn't interrupt the rest of the yarn that you're using for the rest of your sock. But overall I think the fit is really lovely as well. And it's really simple to do. It's actually more simple to do than, well, once you've got a hang of putting in the waste yarn, as you knit your tube down, you do have to stop and at the right point and put the waste yarn in half of the sock, across half of the stitches, which creates the gap that you then go and pick the stitches back up from and knit your afterthought heel. But anyway, if you want to know any more about afterthought heels, go back to the last episode, and I do give links about some really good tutorials that will take you through the whole process, and that is how I knew how to do that. So those are my socks, and now that I've showed you them, I can start wearing them, except for the fact that it's just way too hot to wear them at the moment. But they'll be lovely for when it starts to cool down a bit. And I'm actually sort of itching to cast on another pair of socks as well, so I might cast on another pair of socks in the next couple of weeks. But as I said, I've got 2 cardigans on the needles at the moment, which I'm about to show you. So that's quite a lot. One of them is a sort of a longer term project, although it seems to be whizzing by, but I will want that ready for the autumn because it's a worsted weight cardigan. And the second one I'm going to show you is my quick, basically it's a featherweight, but I've added some texture into the sleeves, because I realised that the other cardigan that I talked about in the previous episode, the one that I'm planning to sort of self-design with some textures in, which was supposed to be a quick knit so that I could quickly have another lightweight cardigan, that's going to take longer because it's going to be a design project. So I thought, well, cast on a featherweight, and that's quite easy to just knit on, and you know, the pattern's really straightforward, so hopefully I'll just be able to whiz through that as well. So I'll show you the yarn that I've got for the featherweight, and then I'll show you the featherweight. We'll start with that one. There doesn't seem to be that much of that yarn actually. I think I might have to buy some more of it looking at it. I'm sure I did measure the yardage properly, but anyway, I bought Drops Fable. Really inexpensive yarn. First time I've knit with it. I bought a ball of it a couple of weeks ago in plain, just to have a go at, to include in a pair of socks actually, and then realised that, yeah, it's a really nice yarn actually, very affordable, and that it would be perfect to do a featherweight in without breaking the bank, and it's a really nice colourway. I don't know what the colourway is called, but it's colour number 103, so it's just a really nice sort of teal blue, as you can see, and I seem to only have 2 of those left, which doesn't seem to feel like it's going to be enough, but maybe I've got more of them in my project bag, which I'll show you again in a minute. Okay, yes I have. It's alright, don't worry, I've got 2 more balls of it in here plus I've actually got 3 more balls written here, so it's probably going to be enough. Dropped my pencil. Looking things. So, I'll show you the cardigan first, and I've just realised that I'm halfway through a row. I actually meant to finish that row before starting the podcast, but never mind, we'll just see how we get on. I think I can show you it because it's not too far down. I haven't got too far into the project, so it'll still stretch out nicely on needles. So here we are, here's what I've got. I'll do you a close-up in a minute. So if you're familiar with the Featherweight, which I'm sure a lot of you probably are, I can't show you it that way. This is upside down, so there's the neckline along there. It's top down in the round. These wedges here are the sleeves. The Featherweight itself is purely plain stockinette stitch, but I have decided to add a texture panel, just a simple one, running down the centre of the sleeve. And again, it's a texture from my stitch dictionary, and it's one that I'd started using for this proposed design cardigan that I want to make up for myself. And it's called the bobble cable, I think, but I have made a modification to it, so the picture for it probably won't come across very well actually. Oh, it's not, it's called the bobble rib. I'll just show you the picture of what it's supposed to look like. It's a black and white photocopy, so this may not actually show up very well, but we'll give it a go. The little bubbles are evenly spaced out on a sort of background ridge of knit stitches. Oh, brain words. But I quite liked, I'll show you a close-up of my version. I quite liked doing the bubbles in pairs and then spaced a little bit further apart. So basically I've just moved the bubbles around a little bit to make it, to customise it to my own sort of stitch texture. But I'm really enjoying doing that, it's really simple. The instructions for that little stitch repeat are given for working flat. So when it comes to splitting for the sleeves and then working the sleeves down in the round, I'm going to have to, one, remember to go up quarter of a size. I think quarter of a needle size will be enough to keep the gauge in check. And secondly, I'm going to have to do a bit of thinking about how to convert the stitch pattern in the round. But looking at the stitch pattern, it's very simple. It's only a 4-row repeat, and it's mainly knits and purls with making bubbles in, so that shouldn't be too hard, because when you're working in the round you just reverse them a bit. So I think my brain knows how to do that, so I think it's going to be alright, and that will work out nicely in the round as well. So that's what I've done so far. I only cast it on, I think, yesterday, so I've whizzed out that much, and I'm knitting it on my higher sharps. And I got the right gauge with 3.25mm, and I'm knitting the smallest size. I haven't put any details about this on Ravelry yet, because I think what I'm going to be doing is, if I can keep it up anyway, putting the finished thing onto Ravelry, because then I can add in all of the details in one go. That seems to work better for me than putting it on now and then going back and visiting the project and adding to it. I don't seem to be able to do very well at that. So I think when I've completed the cardigan, if I've got the energy and the will to do so, I'll take a photo or a few, and then hopefully, if I can remain consistent in this, put all of the details onto the project pages, including the final measurements of the cardigan, the gauge, and the texture stitches and all of that. So I've put some little markers in here to remind me where I need to do my texture stitch, and then the other markers that you see are just what the pattern calls for you to put in to do the raglan increases. So I'm really pleased with that so far. I am enjoying working with the yarn. It is, I believe, 100%. Oh, it's not 100% wool, it's 75% wool, 25% polyamide, which I hadn't realised, but that's perfectly fine. I think this is sock yarn. Yes, it is. Superwash treated sock wool, which is great because if I wear this featherweight anything like as much as I wear my other featherweight, it's going to need to be slightly hard wearing. And that's what I wanted out of this cardigan that I was going to knit myself, something that I could wear all the time. I'm going for something a little bit closer fitting, so hence doing the smaller size, which was a bit tricky to try and decide about because I measured myself. You measure your bust to determine which size to knit. And of course I want this to last for longer than the next few weeks or months, that my body's going to be a slightly different shape. But it's hard to know exactly what shape I'm going to be in the next year. So I'm just going on what I normally am pre-pregnancy, and usually I would have just picked the smallest size based on what the final measurements are. So I'm going with that, and it's quite stretchy, so you know it's going to fit. It's looking, so far it's looking as if it's going to be okay size-wise. So I'm really pleased with that. So I think I've got enough yarn actually. I panicked a bit there, but that's the first ball out of one ball, so I've still got nearly a full ball left. And I have another 4. And this is the sort of yarn that's very consistent and always available, so if I have to get another ball or 2 of it, I can easily do that. And I've got the dye lot written on the label, so that'll be okay. And I've got those in a bag that I made using the screen print that I think I showed you in the last episode. I'm pretty sure I held up a screen print of a doily, just a square piece of fabric with a bit of screen printing on it, which I've since made into a prototype bag, and here is the bag. I've since done more design work and more work on the bag, so that's what I'm going to show you a bit further down in the podcast. But this was my first prototype bag intended just for myself. It's made with a single layer of calico. No, it's not actually, it's a Tilda cotton that I printed onto. It's a really lovely quality Tilda cotton. But it's one single layer, it's not lined, and like I say, this was just literally an experiment to see how to do the construction of it, because I've done it a slightly different way to the bags that I've got, for example, in the shop. So this is a new type of construction that I was trying out. I've put a little tab on the side, as you can see, a little handle, which I quite like. And I haven't lined this one, I just thought I'd try and keep it as simple as possible. So for this particular one I just overlocked the inside of the seams, but for the subsequent experiments that I've done, I have used some bias binding, and for the one that I'm going to show you that's my final settled on design, there is another layer of fabric inside as well. But this is one of my prototypes, and so is the label, which I won't show you too close up. I'll show you that on the real bag because that went through the washing machine and went green for some reason, but I will talk about that more further down the line. And I've made a little stitch pull as well, actually, a zip pull as well. Let me give you a close-up of that, out of some little scraps of minis, which I really love. And these are the, you might recognise them if you saw the necklace that I made 1 or 2 episodes ago. The original findings, which are called the Kumihimo, I think, clasps, which is this silver bit here. I ordered them a little bit too small to begin with, so I've got a little packet of these that were too small. So I thought, I know, I will make some stitch markers, or no, progress keepers out of those. Well, a zip pull. I've made one, but I really love it, and I might make some to go in the shop, seeing as I've got them sitting there. So you could use it as a zip pull, like I am, or you could use it as a stitch marker. No, you couldn't. You could use it as a progress keeper. It hasn't got a ring on it. I told you I wasn't very organised today. Or very consistent in my thinking. So, my featherweight is living in that bag. But you'll see a better version of that bag in a minute. I'll just put that back. And then I've got less to tidy up afterwards. Okay, let's pop that there. Deep breath. The next cardigan that I'm knitting on, I'll just put the pattern in there as well. The next cardigan that I'm knitting on is in the next version of the bag. So you're going to see a bit of progress here in the bag design as well. This is one step up from the bag I just showed you, basically. So there's the bag. I included the word knit into my next trial of screen printing. So basically it's a paper doily, and I've hand cut the word knit into the middle of it and screen printed that, and then it's on both sides of the bag, and it's on the same cotton fabric. I've used a really nice pink zip for that one, and it's got the tag, which I'll give you a close-up in a minute, and the handle on, which I really love. And for this second trial, I have used some bias binding. I'm mixing it up a bit here. I'm showing you a bit of sewing, a bit of design work, and a bit of knitting all together, but it sort of fits because it's in this bag, so I'll just do it that way around. So I had a little go at using some bias binding to enclose the seam here, which I really like. So that idea has made it into the final prototype, and then the undersides of the zips are all nicely finished as well. Hopefully you can see that. I'll just show you the label quickly, because I have designed my own labels previously and I still have got some left, so I'll use the ones up that I've bought, but I have previously bought labels ready-made from a company, woven labels or minilabels.co.uk, where you just type in what colour you want, what background you want, the writing or the logo, and they just send you the labels pre-cut. But I really wanted to put my own little loop and bar logo onto my own labels. So I made out a template on the computer using my logo, and I printed it onto printable cotton fabric, which you can buy for your home inkjet printer, which I've showed quite a long time ago on the podcast. I don't even know which episode, but I've used it before. So I thought it'd be a good idea to try using it for the labels, and this is the result. So I'll just do the podcast hand and hope that, actually it'd be nice if I could put it that way, and then you might be able to see it properly. So hopefully you're seeing a close-up of a label. If it doesn't work and it goes completely wrong, I'm going to try a bit of new editing technology and possibly put a photograph here as I'm speaking. I don't know if I can do that in the software that I use, but I've seen other podcasters do it, so you may be seeing a close-up photo of something or other here, if that shot didn't work. But basically I've printed it out on, I'll show you that one because this is an unsewn one, an unincorporated one. So here's a close-up. So the white is obviously the printable cotton with my logo printed onto it, just through my normal inkjet printer. And on the other side is some just scrap fabric. Love that mustard colour. And then basically I fold obviously I stitch that into a tube and then iron it down. And then I just fold it into a tab like that, and then incorporate it into the side of the bag. I'm really pleased with them. I love how they've turned out. The only slight drawback to them is, as I have discovered, you can't put the label in the washing machine, unfortunately. You probably could if you didn't use a detergent, because I'm sure it's the detergent that's done it. Because I washed one of my previous bags, the one that I've already showed you, it's got my Featherweight in it. I put that through the washing machine at 30 degrees to test how the screen printing held up, and as you can see it held up perfectly well. It's all been heat set, and it's fabric ink, so they are designed to be fast and to be washable. Not that you need to really wash your bag very often, if at all, but just in case you dropped it in a dirty puddle or something, you know. The bag itself could be washed, but unfortunately, I'll show you on here, this is what happened to the label in the machine, so it should be that colour. And it came out a greeny colour, so I think if I carry on using them, which I really want to because I love them too much to not use them, but I would probably just have to say that the bags would have to be hand washed and just keep the label out, which would be a bit fiddly, but you know, worth it. Or unless you don't mind having a green label, which would be a shame. Or just spot clean it. I did actually then check the instructions on the printable fabric stuff, and it does say to just hand wash or dry clean. So I think the detergent is what has done it, and it was the mildest detergent ever. It was the stuff I've been using to wash all the baby stuff in, so don't know why it went green. Funny, well, just one of those funny things. So that's a shame, but I'm going to continue to use the labels because I love them, because I'm thinking, you know, how often do people actually need to put these things into the washing machine? You probably don't if you look after your bag well enough. You could just spot clean it if you get something on it, because I'm intending to put these in the shop, by the way. That's the whole point. Shall I show you what's in it? Right, so my next cardigan project. I feel like I'm a bit chaotic today actually, just speaking a little bit sort of rambly and chaotic, more than usual. But my next project is something I've knitted before. I already have one of these, but I don't think I've ever showed it on the podcast because I knit it a long time before I started podcasting. I'm pretty sure I didn't show it. I may be wrong, but I can't remember showing it on the podcast. It is, where is the front of it? A pattern by Cecily MacDonald in conjunction with Quince & Co. And it's the Solstice cardigan. And it's beautiful. I really, really love this cardigan. I love the one I've already got. I knit it in a very dark charcoal to black colour. But I knit it slightly small, although I wear it, or in the winter I do. I've got a lot of wear out of it. And I knit it with short sleeves. So usually when I wear my original Solstice, I usually wear it over another cardigan just as a sort of body warmer type extra layer. But for this one I really wanted to knit it firstly in a lighter colour, closer to what it looks like here in the pattern picture, because I really love that. I wanted to knit it with long sleeves, and I wanted to knit it, I'm going for slightly oversized, just to have that really cosy, wintry, wraparound blankety cardigan sort of feel. So that's what I'm going for, and very likely I'll wear it over another layer because that's what I always do seem to do with my cardigans anyway. So again, without breaking the bank, I bought enough of this beautiful yarn. It's Drops Nepal in I believe it's called the light grey mix. See if I can give you a close-up of the colour. Probably too close. Sometimes I shove things too close to the camera. I don't always get the showing thing right. It's Drops Nepal anyway. You can see the label probably. And it's colourway 0500, but I think it's called light grey mix. And it's wool and alpaca. 65% wool, 35% alpaca. It's just got the very, very slightest rustic feel, but actually I'm really surprised by how soft this yarn is, and it's gorgeous to knit with. I'm really enjoying the tactile quality of knitting with this yarn. It's beautiful. And I've kind of whizzed through this because I've been enjoying it so much. This project is really singing to my need to knit with textures at the moment. So there are lots of different texture panels going on throughout the cardigan. It's a top down, it's not in the round, is it, if it's a cardigan, because it's backwards and forwards, but it's top down seamless. Again, raglan. It's one of my favourite styles of cardigan to knit. And it will have a shawl collar, but you start by knitting this piece of rib for the collar. And if I recall correctly, this is the front panel, this piece of this part of seed stitching here. I think they become attached like so at some point to create the shawl collar. But I think that's something you do at the end when you're finishing it. So this is what I've got so far. It's a little bit bunched up on the needles now because obviously it's getting a lot bigger. we're an hour in. I know that because, is it an hour? Do I get 20 minutes or do I get 30 minutes before it beeps off? Anyway, it gives me a rough indication of how long the podcast is because it beeps off after a certain amount of time, the camera that is. So, anyway, here we are. There's the beginning of my Solstice cardigan. I love the fabric. I love the softness of it. It's going to be so cosy. I can just feel it. I already know it's going to be so lovely to wear. It looks like it will be quite oversized, and that's what I'm going for, so that's good. I want something just lovely and soft and blankety to put around me. We've got lots of stitch textures here, so I won't give too much away, but excuse me, you can see anyway if I show you the details of the different stitch textures. So we've got some seed stitch for the front, and then these are the there's a little section there before you get to the raglan. So we've got some twisted, we've got some stocking stitch, and then we've got the raglan sleeve, which is this section here, and it's got a faux cable running down it, which is very enjoyable to knit. You don't need the cable needle for this. It's obviously not a real cable, it's just a crisp sort of stitches crossed over like that, and it's really, really lovely to knit, and you work it over 2 rows, I think. It's really nice. And then one of my favourite stitch textures, I love the look of it. I don't know if I can show you it properly, but it's the twisted stocking stitch. And some people struggle with doing that, with knitting into the back loop. I don't, I love it. I think it's really comfortable to knit. I'm a fairly loose knitter. I'm not a tight knitter anyway, so I think that really helps when you're knitting through the back loops of something. And then those textures are mirrored on the other side as well. So it's, you have to do a bit of concentrating on the setup row for those texture stitches and placing the markers. But once you've done a couple of rows of those and you know what you're doing, the faux cable is very intuitive. I don't need to look at the pattern anymore for that because it's really simple to do. And everything else is really simple. Seed stitch, most people know how to do that. Twisted stocking stitch, most people know how to do that. Or if you don't, then it's just you just knit through the back loop. And then there's the stocking stitch. So you just have to slightly pay attention, but all of the markers tell you when you're about to change the texture. So you literally can, or I can, just sit and watch telly or chat or watch a podcast, which I've been doing a lot of, and just knit. I'm really enjoying it. So I've got quite far with that one as well. Of course it's going to grow quite quickly because it is it a worsted weight yarn? What needle size am I using? Let me tell you. Okay, so I got the right gauge with a size 6mm, which is a US 10. So 6mm needle, knitting it on my Addy interchangeables. Really enjoying that. I think they're really lovely and smooth. There's no problem for me where the join is. They're the detachable ones. If I'm knitting something lace weight and I seem to have got tight stitches, then I find that that is annoying. It's problematic getting the stitches over it. But anything of this sort of gauge and size, no problem whatsoever. Lovely and smooth. I love these needles. I think they're lovely to work with. So I'm really enjoying that knit, and I've used up, oh excuse me, oh gosh, bending over is not my best skill at the moment. Right, so I've got enough yarn, it's all in a bag over there, hopefully, to make this. Again, it's commercially produced yarn, so I can always buy more if I need to. I can't remember how many balls, but I'm going to try and keep track of how much I use for the Ravelry pages and be really good at putting in the details. Wish me luck with that, because I feel really good that I've done so far that for those 3 cardigans and those socks. I want to continue doing it. So this amount of knitting is 2 of those balls. That's what's left over from the second one so far, so nearly 2 of those balls. And I think I'm going to try and knit it. It's fairly long anyway. It's designed to be fairly long actually. It sits on or just below the hip, so I'm going to go for that. With my first Solstice I knitted it a bit too short, as I tend to do with jumpers and cardigans, but I'm learning gradually that I prefer, especially if it's a sort of garment that I want to keep me warm, you need to knit it longer because you need your waist to be warm and the top of your bum as well in the winter. So I'm definitely making sure that I'm knitting them long enough, satisfactorily long enough. So that can go back in the bag. I think I need a drink of water. I'll just have to go and pop and get my water, which is just in front of the camera. Excuse me a second. I have closed my window because my neighbour is strimming, but you may still be able to hear. Oh, I'm so thirsty. I am having a lot of problems with my sinuses the last few days. It's making me very foggy-headed, a little bit headachy, and very blocked up. Yeah, my neighbours are outside. I don't think you can hear them talking, but one of them's strimming. Sorry if you can hear that. I don't think it's too loud to interrupt the podcast though. I think we'll be alright. Okay, so that's not the only two things I've got on the needles. I've still got my crochet blanket, which I showed in the last episode. Haven't done anything on that yet since the last episode, but it's still in the making. I'm still really enjoying doing it, but I've just gone a bit bonkers on casting on new things, so can't knit on everything. But hopefully I'll get a little bit more of that done. And it has occurred to me that with it being 100% alpaca, I probably won't need to use it for a little while yet because we are having really warm weather. So I probably don't need to put an alpaca blanket over my baby. You have to keep them nice and cool apparently. So I've got these cotton cellular blankets that you buy from Mother Care and all sorts of Boots and all, yeah, everywhere sells them really, but they're just cotton, they're lightweight, they've got lots of little holes in them. So we've kind of got a supply of those to use initially so that we don't overheat the baby. It's very important. So yes, there's no hurry for the alpaca blanket to be ready. I think what I'll do is aim to make it a slightly larger size, and it's okay if that's ready for the autumn, so that's going to be a slower ongoing work in progress. I'm very tempted to cast on another blanket in cotton for the baby, but I've got to rein myself in a little bit because, well, basically if I cast many more things on, I'm never going to get anything finished, and I do want to cast another pair of socks on because I'm a bit addicted to knitting socks. They're really handy as a small project to take with you for appointments or driving, or not obviously if you're driving, but if you're in the car, on a journey, etc. And yeah, I just really enjoy knitting socks, especially now I've discovered the afterthought healing. So, ooh, I know what I want to show you. I did some yarn dyeing. Okay, so this is really exciting. I absolutely love doing this. I was very inspired by my visit to Fiona and Abby at Lily Pond Yarns. Although I didn't see this happening in progress, I know that they were going to do it as soon as I left. They were going to get stuck into some yarn dyeing, and they've got the most beautiful yarn in their shop. And it really, especially once they gave me a mini skein set, which was really kind and a total surprise and really generous of them. And I was just really inspired by that to try having a little go at yarn dyeing, and I've been really enjoying watching various tutorials on YouTube about yarn dyeing. There's been some really, really good quality ones that I've saved in my watch later or tutorials list. I just find it really fascinating watching people dyeing yarn on YouTube. And I had a couple of skeins, balls of yarn, which I don't think I've ever shown, or maybe I showed them as an acquisition a long time ago on the podcast, maybe not, I'm not sure. But basically I used two balls of Debbie Bliss Rialto 4-ply. I decided to just use what I've got in my cupboards. I already had some dyes because I've done a little bit of dyeing before, but with varied success. I definitely haven't done anything as satisfying as the thing I'm about to show you. I'm really pleased with the results of it. So I thought, well, I won't buy some bare yarn, I will just use what I've got in my stash. And I had a ball of this, but in a sort of beige stone colour. So basically I've used Debbie Bliss Rialto 4-ply, but not this colour. This is another ball, obviously. This is a different ball. This is not what I've dyed. I'm just showing you the yarn that I started with. So that was the base I started with. And I'm going to try and do that thing that I said before and put a picture here, because I did take a bit of footage of it, but then again I might have wiped it off the camera. You may or may not be seeing the original colour of the yarn here. If you're not, I apologise for that. I've wiped it off the camera by accident. Hopefully you are. Anyway, it's a kind of very pale version of that sort of colour. So the original yarn started off very pale stone colour, and it is yarn content extra fine merino wool superwash. Superwash made it very handy because I have been known to felt yarn before, because I'm a little bit of an impatient yarn dyer. Anyway, sorry, I'm just looking out the window at people going past there, get easily distracted. So I had the idea that I would like to firstly dye a sort of subtle variegated green, so over dye the yarn with a very subtle variegated green, and then put in some speckles of turquoise. And I decided to use food colouring, which was something that Fiona of Lily Pond Yarns told me you can do. I've seen it on YouTube as well, but she gave me the sort of confidence and inspiration to try food colouring. So I have some green food colouring in the cupboards, in the spirit of using what I had around me. And I have a little pot of jacquard, no, is it jacquard? I think it's jacquard, acid dye in the powder form, in the teal colourway, which I bought quite a long time ago and dyed a hat with, which I think I showed on the podcast. So I decided to try using those two together and to see what I got. I had 2 balls of this and I skeined them up together. So I wound them onto my Swift double, basically, so that I wanted to try and achieve an even pattern across the 2 balls. So I did that, and so basically they made one big skein, and then I put the ties in. And I did this on the night when we had the thunderstorms, and it was very exciting. And Avion was at the social club having some pints, and I was stood over the kitchen hob with a great big, I've got a special pot for dyeing yarn in, which I bought ages ago when I wanted to start experimenting with yarn dyeing. And so I was doing that, and it was really exciting. And then the power went off and I couldn't see anything, which wasn't exciting, it was a bit scary. Basically, I managed to, sorry, I'm being very inarticulate here now because I'm trying to remember the process that I used. So I used food colouring for the base, jacquard powder dye in teal for the speckles, and white vinegar, plain white vinegar from the supermarket as the fix, which is the first time I've used vinegar as the fix. In previous experiments I've used citric acid and alum. So the vinegar worked really well, I was really pleased with it. And I'm so proud of what I achieved that I've wound it up into a skein and I've made a label for it. For no other reason that I just wanted to see my own yarn in my own label, and this is what I came up with. So there's my label. I just printed off my logo basically onto a bit of card and stapled it around. So I'll just take it off so that you can see the skein a little bit more closely, or hank, to give it the correct term. So that's what I came up with. I'm really, really, really pleased with the result. It's so much better than I thought I was going to be able to achieve. I will undo it for you and show you it. This is reskeined, and the reason I've had to reskein it is because, as I said before, I originally wound the 2 balls into one skein doubled over, but then I wanted to separate those because I wanted to knit them as the yarn weight that it is, not doubled. So that was a bit fiddly actually. I won't be doing that again because it's too fiddly to undo to separate them then back into 2 separate skeins. But anyway, I achieved it. I'm really pleased with the speckles that I got. I'm hoping you can see that and that I've not got it too close. if I'm doing rubbish showing, I might just put some photos or video in somewhere separately for you to see properly. So that's one, and then the other one I've got in a ball form to show you, because that's originally how I got it back out of its double skein. So so this one obviously hasn't been wound back onto the Swift into a skein yet, but that's the ball form. So that's basically the equivalent of a full one of these, minus a little bit that I've knitted with. So I'm about to show you the sample. You might have seen it on Instagram, because I did Instagram this. But I've knit up a sample for the purposes of the podcast to show you, and to show me, really, because I was curious to see what this looked like as a piece of knitting. So there is my little knit sample, and I thought I'd try some different textures. So I've got a 1x1 rib, stocking stitch, a little textured stitch called the nosegay pattern from my stitch dictionary, and a bit of seed stitch at the top. And I just am completely in love with all of it. I love it. So this may well become a baby jumper, because the quantity that I've got isn't enough for me to do anything for myself, but it's definitely enough to knit something for the baby, maybe a bit further down the line, because I think I've got enough cardigans for the baby for the summer. They don't need that many, do they? I'm not sure. And they grow out of them quickly, so I might, although I'm really excited to knit with this yarn, so I suppose I could knit something now in a larger size that will fit the baby, you know, in 6 months' time or something. So unless I decide to do something different with it. I suppose I could do socks, but I don't think it's hard wearing enough for socks. And it would be a shame to put them on your feet. Really, I'd like to show this colourway off, so yeah, I'll probably do a really nice textured jumper for the baby for when he or she is older. So that was really, really exciting and very, very enjoyable, and I'm not very good at doing this, so I'm not going to even, I'll just do it loosely so it doesn't all come unwound. So absolutely loved that. There is more yarn dyeing in my future. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that I thought, right, I want to dye enough yarn for myself to make myself another cardigan or jumper. Haven't decided fully yet, actually. So I've bought 5 balls of the Drops Fable just in the natural colourway. It'll be interesting to see how the dye works on this, because it's got polyamide in it. It is superwash sock yarn, but I'm aware that different bases of yarn take colour in a different way, and I won't necessarily be trying to recreate that colourway that I did there. I can sort of roughly remember how I did it, but I didn't take any notes on quantities, measurements of quantities of dyes that I used or anything, so I basically would have to wing it again if I wanted to try and recreate that colour. But I'm thinking I'd like to do a sort of mustardy, variegated mustard, pale mustard or something maybe for a cardigan for myself. So I've got 5 skeins of this, and I've bought some food colouring from Sainsbury's this morning, and quite possibly tomorrow I might do some more yarn dyeing. And again, I've been watching some really, really good tutorials. There's too many to list, but I have got a few saved in. I don't know if other people can see those though, but I've got a few saved. Hopefully by the next episode I'll have something to show you, some results to show you from that. And then I can possibly give you a couple of links to some of my favourite tutorials that have really helped me to learn how to do yarn dyeing and get it all right. So hopefully I've got it right anyway. So I really look forward to doing that, and I look forward to sharing the results with you. Okay, so one more thing I'm going to... Oh no, I've got an acquisition. I've got an acquisition. I accidentally bought some yarn. I went into my new local yarn shop for the first time a couple of weeks ago. And it's called Fudges, or Fudge Yarns. Let me look, I've got the card in here. Oh, I know I shoved it in here. It's in a nearby town. It's called Fudge's Wool and Haberdashery, and the lady in there is so lovely, and we had a lovely chat, and she does knit and natter twice a week, so I'm hoping that I can make it to a knit and natter in the next few weeks before the baby's born. At least one, just so I can sit and have a knit and natter with some other knitty people. It seems like a very friendly group. And then possibly after the baby's born as well. I'm sure you can take your baby to these things. I don't know. They seem friendly, and I'm sure that they would say yes to that. Anyway, I had a good look around her shop. She mainly sells at the moment things like the lesser expensive, more commercial yarns, which I still like anyway. There's still tons of choice, and well, as you've seen, I still knit with those sorts of yarns anyway. But I think I knew this, but I wasn't sure, and I was on the lookout for something minty green and speckled, because I just had a hankering for that, all sort of green and speckled. And I didn't see anything in her shop of that variety, of that kind, until the very last 5 minutes, where I was about to leave, and I mentioned that I'd been to see Fiona and Abby of Lily Pond Yarns, and I just keep mentioning them because they're my new friends. Don't really have any other friends here yet. And she said, "Oh, I've got a basket of their yarn in the window," and I seem to remember that they did say that they had some yarn in her shop. So I had a little look, I got quite excited, and I saw this, and I could not resist, and I bought it. I don't know if they know that I've bought this because I haven't told them, but whether they know already. But there's their label again. And I fell completely in love with this beautiful, beautiful skein of yarn. And I've been saving it. I haven't cast on anything with it yet because I just wanted to show it on the podcast in its beautiful hank form. I haven't even unwound it and had a look at it. I've just kept it like that, and I just keep kind of just picking it up and looking at it, and the colours are just so beautiful. They were perfect, spot on, just what I was looking for. And this is called Limestone. I think that must be the colourway. It's the Superwash Merino Mohair. 20% kid mohair, 55% superwash merino, which is handy, superwash, and 25% nylon, great, because that'll mean it's a bit harder wearing. And it's a fingering weight sock yarn, so whether I make socks with this for myself, I'm sort of tempted to do that now that I'm talking about it. Originally it was intended for a baby knit. If I knit something for the baby, it will be something of the larger size for further down the line, because it has got mohair in it, so it's going to be on the warmer side, and there is a lot of it for a baby anyway. So I would definitely knit something at least sort of 6 months to 1 year old sized, I think, to get the best wear out of this. But now that I've just read out that it's a sock yarn, I'm sort of tempted to make myself some socks with it, so I don't really know. I'll have to make a decision on that one, but I just fell in love with it. It's so beautiful, and I couldn't resist it. So that was my first purchase from my local yarn, my new local yarn shop. So hopefully I will make it down there at some point to a knit and natter, and meet some new knitty friends, some more new knitty friends. Looking behind me to see, I think I've showed you everything I need to show you off the back there. Just take another little drink. When I had to order this mini skein from the cardie that I showed you earlier. I had a little bit left, but I had to reorder a new mini skein to have enough to finish the cardie with from Loop London. Loop of London? Loop Knitting? You all know it. And I couldn't resist looking at the buttons, because they have some really sweet buttons, and I bought just one, but this is going to go probably on the baby knit, some sort of baby knit, but I couldn't resist but buy this beautiful little hair button. It's gorgeous. So I'll probably knit a cardigan at some point that's just got one little button on it. Just thought I'd show you that as an acquisition. That's going to be kept very safe, and it will be probably put onto a baby cardie. Right, I'm going to talk about the giveaway now, because I feel as if I have talked for a lot about loads of stuff, and this podcast could get very long. as usual, and I need to tell you about the giveaway, and I'm going to sort of make this up as I go along because I haven't really thought it through, except for I've made a bag, I want to give it away, and that's all I know so far. So let's just see how we go. Let's roll with it, shall we? So here is the bag that you can win, have a chance of winning, if you would like to enter the giveaway. There's just one of them. It's been a monumental achievement to just produce this one. I'm really pleased with it. So it's got my screen printed doily, a commercially bought doily. I just have to point that out. That's not my design, it's a commercially bought doily. And then I've hand cut the word knit into there and screen printed. So I'm aware that if you crochet, you might prefer the word crochet, but so far I've just written the word knit. So that's what we've got at the moment. It's a box bottom. This is the final design, so the intention is that I will hopefully produce a few of these to go into the Etsy shop as well at some point. I have some more panels of this screen printed up and ready. I actually need to buy some more zips, so it might take a little bit more time before they appear in the shop, but if you are interested in purchasing one, if you enter the giveaway and don't win it and you want to buy one, they will be in the shop at some point. Whether it gets done before the baby's born, who knows, we'll see. This bag and anything that will be for sale in the shop is going to have, I say anything, the future bags that I'm going to make, this is a perfect example. It's going to have the zip pull on it. I bought some of these little teacup zip pulls. I may also produce the one that I showed earlier. I'll probably make some of these as well for the shop because I really like those. And I've got the bits, so I might as well. So you might be able to get that one or the teacup. But I really like having a zip pull on. I think it just adds a little bit of extra something to the bag. Featuring my handmade labels, which should not be put in the washing machine unless you want it to turn into a green one. A little handle tab. And this is the final version of the bag. I've just got some yarn in it to demonstrate how it looks with things in. So I'll just take the yarn out because that's not included in the giveaway. That's my cardigan yarn. That's where the yarn is. 2 more of my Solstice yarns. That was just to demonstrate the bag a little bit better. So it is actually lined. It's got a double layer of fabric, so it's got some cotton, just a very plain pale grey cotton. The seams are all stitched in and finished. This is a different construction to what I've been doing usually for my lined zipped bags. This time I've got the seams on the outside, they're not enclosed between the main fabric and the lining. This is just something I'm trying because I quite liked the construction method. I've made some bias binding from Tilda fabric and I'm doing my best to show you what it looks like inside the bag. So all of the seams are enclosed, there's no raw edges, with some sort of bias binding, whether it's handmade or whether it's stuff that I've bought, but all the seams will be enclosed quite nicely. It's all nice and neat, and of course it's got the zip closing on it, and it's fairly sturdy, this, because it is double cotton lined. It's not as floppy as the prototypes. So if you are interested in having a chance of winning this actual bag as it is here, I'll put measurements and things in the giveaway details. I'm going to do it through the Ravelry group, which I have very badly neglected. I'm so sorry to all the members of my Ravelry group who are faithful and loyal and still keeping it going. I'm never in there, I'm so sorry. I can't find enough hours in the day to do it also. But I will be popping into the Ravelry group to open up the giveaway thread. I don't know what I'll call it yet. Let's think. I'll call it the Loop and Bar bag giveaway thread or something like that. It won't be hard to find because I haven't done anything like that for ages anyway. So let's call it the knit bag giveaway thread. That's what I'm going with. If I decide to change it between now and editing, I'll put it here. The knit bag giveaway thread. Okay. If you want to have a go at winning this, go into the Ravelry group, look for the giveaway thread. Oh, sorry, camera cut me off again. So go into the Ravelry group, look for the giveaway thread. I'll date it as well, June. It's June, isn't it? 2018, just so that you know you've got the right thread, because it's so long since I've been in there, I don't even know what's in there thread-wise. And just tell me that you'd like to have a chance of winning. I can't think of a question. I did think of a good one before, but it's gone out of my mind now, so yeah, just tell me that you want to have a chance of winning the bag. That's all you need to know. Let me know that you want to be entered. Remember, if it's a giveaway thread, just one comment, one entry per person, and remember not to chatter and reply to other people's comments, because that means you've got more than one sort of entry as such. So one entry per person. And I will say that I will draw for the giveaway in a week. A week on Saturday. I don't have my calendar on me, which is very disorganised of me. So it's Friday today. I'll open the giveaway thread probably later on today. But you won't know about it until probably Monday, because that's how long it's probably going to take this episode to upload. For some reason it takes ages. So it's going to be a quick giveaway really, but I will notify people on Instagram as well, so that other people get the chance to enter if you don't get time to watch the podcast, or if you don't watch the podcast. It's open to anyone who basically contributes towards me and the podcast, or me and my interaction on social media, on Instagram. Any friend of mine on Instagram or Ravelry or the podcast is welcome to enter the giveaway. No special requirements. So yeah, go into the Ravelry thread, giveaway thread, just let me know that you want to enter. I will draw a week on Saturday, so it's let me think about the date. I think it's the 9th tomorrow, the 9th of June 2018, so a week from tomorrow. I will put the date here. I've just thought that when I edit I can do that, I can look at the date. So I'll put the draw date on here, and I'll let the winner know through Ravelry that you've won. And I will say it on the next podcast episode, but I don't know when that's going to be, so I'll just let you know through Ravelry. And then, yeah, I can put it in post to you, hopefully before things get too busy and chaotic around here. And I give birth. So if you want to win that, please feel free to go into the Ravelry group and yeah, just pop an entry in. Hopefully we'll get a few entries and a little bit of interest, and look out for them in the shop at some point in the future, hopefully in the near future, but definitely in the future. I'm also planning on doing some what are they called? Notions pouches. This is a prototype experiment, so this is by no means the finished thing, but this is my first go at doing a smaller version, and I've hand cut the words bits and bobs. So this is just for me to experiment with, but hopefully I will be producing a little bit more of a honed version to create some Notions pouches that will sort of go with the bag as well. And I did have a go at printing on some really lovely linen, and I didn't think it came out very well to begin with, but now I'm looking at it, I've given it a really nice iron and a heat set, and I actually really like it. The linen is really beautiful quality as well. So quite possibly there might be a linen version of the bag, but we'll see where that goes. It's all still in the experimental stages. We'll see how the giveaway bag is received. And talking of the Etsy shop, I haven't been doing very much in terms of Instagram. I went a bit bonkers with the Instagram stories a few weeks ago, doing really well with that, and then the last couple of weeks I've dropped off a bit again. I'm slightly inconsistent. I'm just leaning down here to get my box of things. I will just, excuse me, bending down and making a noise. I'll just give you a quick run through what is still in the shop if you are interested. We have a few bags. What's still available at the last look? So there's a couple of these drawstring bags. Oh, it smells of lavender. I've got lavender sachets in this box that I store them in. It smells beautiful. They all come with a little lavender sachet inside with the same fabric as the bag. So okay, so there's a couple of those in various combinations of lining and outer fabric. Oops, that's that one and that one. Put them there. There's a couple of the moon ones left. I love this fabric, it's really sweet. I really, really like that moon and stars fabric. So some of them are just plain, some of them have got a contrasting bottom. They've all got lining, contrasting lining. So there's a couple of those left. I'll just do this really quickly because I haven't done much of it on Instagram, so I might as well do it through the podcast. There's a cloud one left. I'm really tempted to keep it. I love this cloud fabric. I'd like to make a blanket, a quilt actually for the baby with it, I think. It's a dashwood fabric, that one. So anyway, that's the last cloud one left. So if you are interested in that one, pop to the shop and have a look. There's one of this shape, which is my roundy bottom bag. That's a zip one. And that's got a star lining in it. I love mustard at the moment. I love mustard and pink together. So that's the roundy bottom one. I'd say that these are all, obviously you can definitely fit sock and baby knits into these, but you could probably fit small cardigan, lightweight cardigan, small lightweight shawl, that kind of size project in there. And notions pouch wise, we have two of the snap ones left. They're both the same, so I'll just show you one. Are they the same? Yes, they are. They're identical. My lovely snap pouches. I love using these. Okay, so they're really good. There's no zip on them. If you're a bit nervous about getting zips near your knitting, this is perfect. They just snap shut. They keep everything in. They've been tried and tested over the last couple of months by me, and nothing falls out, not even the tiniest little things. So that's the snap pouch. There's two of those. They're both the moon ones. All the cloud ones have been snapped up. And there are two of your normal sort of zippy pouches left. Again, these have both got lining in. Spending a bit of time on this, aren't I, actually? So two little zip pouches left. They're really sweet as well. Love the fabric. Okay, so there's a few things left in the shop if you're interested. Only a few weeks to go before baby comes. So I probably will put the shop in holiday mode. I don't know, as of, let's say 3rd week of June, depending on when the baby comes. I'll put it in holiday mode before I go into the hospital to have the baby, basically. That's as far as I've got with organising that. I haven't got a specific date, but I might announce that on Instagram a bit nearer to the time when I know a little bit more myself. Of course, these things are a little bit unpredictable. So the shop will be going into holiday mode. So if you're interested in any of those things, do go and have a look in the next week or so. That will give me plenty of time to process orders and get things sent out, and it means you won't miss out. Other than that, we'll just have to play it by ear and see. Once I've got the shop in holiday mode, I'm just going to wait and see how long it is until I feel like opening it up again. Who knows? It's the first time I've done this, so I've got no idea quite how long I'm going to be out of action in terms of Etsy shop, loop and bar, sewing, podcasting, all of that. Hopefully I'll be able to manage to podcast. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what's realistic at the time. Let's just play it by ear. I may get another episode in before the baby's born. I hope to. I would love to show you the results of my yarn dyeing and the progress on my 2 cardigans. So hopefully, even if it's a short one, have I ever done a short podcast? No. And obviously I will be announcing the results of the giveaway a week on Saturday. So whatever the date is, a week from the 9th of... I'll put the date here for the announcing of that. I say announcing, I'll just let the winner know through Ravelry. So don't forget, if you want to win a chance to win this bag, my very first screen printed loop and bar prototype, I suppose, bag, go to the Ravelry thread, the giveaway thread, and just let me know that you'd like to enter. You've got a week. Okay. I am going to say goodbye and stop waffling, and I'm going to go get a cup of tea and a nice snack. And, well, it's only 4, so I don't need to put tea on yet, so maybe I'll soak my yarn ready for doing my yarn dyeing. And I'm going to wish you all a very lovely week. I might go and do a rain dance outside because we desperately need some rain for the garden. There's probably, possibly I haven't put any footage in at the beginning of the episode again, I just haven't been organised enough. I did take some footage of Avion fencing the garden and a little bit of the garden, but I've got a horrible feeling that I've wiped it all off when formatting the camera to start podcasting today. So it could be that I did that and then erased it all by accident. So it might be that I've got nothing to show you in terms of footage intro. So unfortunately, you're just stuck with just the plain old podcast this week, I think. But have a lovely week. I hope everybody gets a nice little bit of knitting time in, or podcast watching in. Next time I think I'd like to let you know about a few new podcasts that I've been watching. I don't do that very often because I don't think of it very often, but it's occurred to me that I would really like to share a couple of new, really lovely podcasts with you that I've discovered. So hopefully I'll do that in the next episode. Okay, so until the next time, hopefully I'll see you before the baby's born. If not, I'll see you at some point afterwards. And yeah, have a lovely week, everybody. Thank you for watching, and happy knitting. Bye.